Welcome to part one of our discussion series, Gracefully Embracing Chaos, brought to you by MacKenzie Corporation. Today we have Jenny Dinnan and Katie Rucker, co-owners of MacKenzie Corporation. And today our topic is going to be leadership mindset. So we've got some questions here. We'll go back and forth and allow Jenny and Katie a little bit of time to provide some of their insights and opinions. I want to kick it off by bringing up the fact that you both have leadership roles in three different worlds. You have your business, your family, and your community. So I'm wondering, which skills or personality traits do you feel are most beneficial across all of those? So Jenny, let's start with you.
Oh man. Gosh, I think that communication is key regardless of being a business owner or wife, mom in the community. I am realizing, I think that the biggest thing is, which I might steal Kate's thunder here, but clear is kind. That is so big right now, of being clear about your intentions, clear about your expectations about what you want, clear about where we are. So communicating what you want, what you need from other people in the situation. I think communication and being very clear about expectations, I think that we can solve a multitude of problems when we communicate more and more often. Yes.
Katie, what about you?
Well, you definitely are not stealing my quotes there. That is from the wonderful Dr. Renee Brown. And I finished a leadership program that was done based on her book, Dare to Lead. And that is where that came from. And it is, I think, a really great point there. The two words that really popped in my mind, but one that I can expand on a little bit more, but was authenticity. So really just truly being like who you are and being okay with that. But I think the biggest one that really can be a trait or skill that across the board is honesty, which I do think it goes hand in hand with communication. But I believe that being honest about our abilities, our skill sets, what we need, just a lot of different things, but being able to be okay and comfortable with, truly where we are and being honest about that and all different aspects of where we are is really, I think, what makes relationships work really well.
So before co-owning MacKenzie, you both had other jobs and were employed by other companies. What's it like having to shift your mindset from the person performing the task to the person delegating or assigning tasks to other people?
I would say, I think on that one, I think it's a lot harder than I was probably when we first took over. I think we were naively optimistic and a lot of different things, which I think is really good. But running a business is difficult. It's a lot harder than I guess I maybe originally anticipated, but I appreciate the opportunity to be able to grow and to have that. I think that a lot of it comes down to really having to build trust with your team, trust in yourself, to be able to know that the people that we're delegating out to can take those ideas and run with it at the level at which we need to make sure that we're sticking with the standards for the business. So I think it's, it's just, they're different hats for sure.
Yeah. I think a big thing that I remember my very first job interview to try and be a manager at Home Depot, and Chase, my old boss, mentor forever. She's like, "You do not want this job." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I do. I want to be the manager." And she said, "No, you just, you're not ready." And God bless her for not giving me that job. But every once in a while I go back and I said, man, I just wish that I could go back to being in my cubicle, being responsible for my job, being responsible for just my world. And there is something to that, I will say. But I think one of the biggest mind shifts is trusting our team. I mean, with Kate and I think what has led us to success is, I used to think that the person in charge or the leaders, managers, or the president of a company just made all the decisions. That is not the case at all. I think that we definitely rely on our team to come to us with feedback of where we are on projects, where we are with different things. We surround ourselves with very smart people. But I will say, at the end of the day, you have to be willing to be the one to make the decision, right or wrong. And I think, I guess, another one of those little squirrels is the road is full of dead squirrels, which is terrible to think. But if you're not going to make a decision, you're going to get run over, obviously, on the side of the road. So as a leader, you have to be willing. I feel like sometimes before I would just present my boss with, here's a whole bunch of solutions. And so as the leader, you have to be willing to make a decision, own your decision, and decide to move forward from there. And then we figure out where things go. So I think be willing to make a decision, but for sure with input from the team, and surround yourselves with experts, because there's no way that we know everything that's going on. But yes, so at the end of the day, though, being the one to say, you know what, this is hard and I'm going to make the decision.
And that leads great into another point that you both mentioned is when you have your own job or your own task, the success metrics are pretty clear. Is how well did you perform the task? You have a certain outcome that you're shooting for. You have a report or a deadline, delivery date. As leaders, what are your personal success metrics? Either at the end of the day or the week or the year? How do you step back and evaluate yourself? Are there any particular benchmarks or KPIs that you use consistently?
Okay, and I'll have you go first.
Great question on that. And I think it's one, to be honest, that continues to evolve for me. And I think just as we continue to grow just in our own space, for me right now, I would say it's how do I feel like I'm motivating the team to be able to help move us forward? So how's the team performing, and really feeling that they're not just performing on task by any means, because that's not really actually what brings me joy, is more of how are they thriving in the space that they're in? Are they growing personally and professionally? Two, obviously, sales and growth of the business but that's more of I feel like an expected one. And then for me personally is just continuing to enhance my own leadership skills and my own approach to things. So then again, coming back even to the honesty of saying, where are some of my weaknesses is around communication, having tough conversations, different types of things, and then seeking out opportunities to be able to grow and enhance those skills. So for me, it's really being able to say if I'm looking back at the end of the day, say, what did I learn for myself that then I can apply back to the team, I think is really one of my biggest things. And then just as we continue on is then what is that positive impact, again, either on my team or then out in the community? How are we mentoring? How are we giving back? To me, that is, a success metric as well, is am I giving back in a way that's helping to have a positive impact on others?
Yeah, I think that impact word was my word for sure. Instead of just saying, we're hitting these metrics, what's the impact of the work that we're doing on there? I think that's just a really big thing with Kate and I. We also, and I just thought everybody was like this, but I don't know, maybe not necessarily. We're always growing, evolving, taking classes. My husband always says that I'm always studying for a test that I'm never going to take. I'm always reading 3 or 4 books at one time, or podcasts or whatnot. We're in a world where there's so much change and innovation going on that we are just hungry to make sure that we are continuing to evolve. I will say, though, that one of the things that we want to make sure that we're doing is always kind of putting some parameters around that, right? We can be going here, 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 and that's just very scatterbrained around. So it's kind of at the beginning of the year, I think both Kate and I come up with where do we want to focus our energy and our efforts on a couple different main topics that we're learning against. Then obviously pivoting in the middle of that, in the middle of a global pandemic. But if we keep coming back to the bigger picture, how to have a big enough impact and what skills are we lacking in our team, then we continue to grow in those areas. Yeah.
And a big part of leadership is motivating others, motivating your team and the people around you. Do you use the same motivation tactics or the same motivation style for the team or your family or the community as you do yourself? Or are there variations that you see where what you do to motivate yourself doesn't work to motivate other people? And have there been specific lessons or periods or realizations along the way that have shaped your motivation style?
Yeah.
Oh, that's another great question.
I think that's your wheelhouse, Kate.
I know. I think it's really interesting. I definitely through, really digging in on kind of understanding the team and just culture and general organizational cultures is really needed to spend the time to realize that actually like what motivates you is not going to obviously motivate other people. And I would say that again, over time, that for me has been a growth opportunity of really realizing to be able to help others grow, you have to be able to learn to understand what motivates them. So we've done a lot of work around that at the company, and then being able to dig even more and pick up on different kinds of cues for each specific team member. And then try to offer advice and guidance that is going to actually be heard and resonated. I think that for personal growth for anybody or motivation, it has to be internal. So we have to be able to, as the leaders, spark that in our team members or in our family, even the same thing. Like figuring that out for anybody is just really needing to take the time to realize that when you're wanting to motivate somebody else, that it's not about you. You actually have to figure out what's going to resonate the best. For me, I'm very goal oriented. And so like if I know going into the global pandemic, I was training for my first full marathon. The day the world shut down was the day I stopped running because my race was canceled. So I don't have, which is totally silly because I absolutely love running, but if I'm not running to practice for a race and prepare for a race, I actually don't run. So that's just how my mind works. And so now having to be able to create goals for myself that can happen in a space. But other people, some people just aren't that way and they don't like need that as much and they can have more self-discipline. So I think really, again, that the biggest thing is that there definitely is not a one size fits all by any means, and having to take the time and go through the process and realize that people kind of need to move at their own speed. And different people have different objectives, again, and having to understand and respect that for each individual, whether, again, that's your team, whether that's your family or the community partners, and understanding that we can continue to offer ourselves and our ideas and knowledge, and then people are going to take it as they choose.
Another thing that I'm learning also through this kind of pandemic and during this time is that it can change what motivates people, right? And so I think that kind of comes back to also of this clear communication is it's okay that sometimes, right now it's, family first of where we are, or right now I just need stability, or in this period in my life, right, of what's going on. I've got 2 young kids. I've got a kindergartner and a 4th grader. So I'm in a different, it's even season of life than Kate's, who are a little bit older. And even now that I've got some more breathing room, that I don't have a newborn at home, that I've got different things that motivate me, that keep me going. So I think that we just need to also check in, and it's okay if it changes and evolves over time. I think that we just need to be clear with each other about what it is that we want, what we're working for. And then the one other thing definitely of having different realizing that what motivates some people is different than others. Thinking about my kindergartner versus my 4th grader, they are completely, they look the same. They're completely different people. One is, kind of a pleaser and wants to do whatever to help mommy, do what needs to get done. And the other one, feisty as heck. But when I get her lined up the right way and I can talk to her and get her goal oriented, kind of like Katie, she's more like you, but then we get lined up the right way. So it's a really good reminder. I think you said in the beginning that we're leaders at home and also in business, and realizing that, it is like crystal clear to me every single day that I need to motivate and parent these children differently. So it's a good reminder to bring that into the office, especially when the office is at home these days. Yes.
Jenny, how would you describe your leadership style?
Oh gosh. How's my leadership style? I try to be, I'm more of a big picture thinker. I don't like the details just in general about things, about how to get things done. I love when I give somebody, here's an idea, here's where I want to go, like this is what the finish line looks like, this is what I'm dreaming about, and then give them the runway to get to where they need to be. So I like to be a bit more hands off, though I do realize that I have clear ideas about the way that I want it to be, so I need to communicate a bit more. That I like check-ins oh my gosh, my dog is like trying to sneak in the picture here. Um, so I don't know. I'd be curious, Brett, even of chatting with you. I think it's a good question. I think it's also a really good question of how do we think that we are. I think I'm a laid back manager or boss or whatever word you want to use. But I don't know. I think that'd be a really good question of how do you see me as a leader?
Well, Katie, first, let's hear what you think about your leadership style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I so interesting. When thinking about kind of this question, I was thinking I am a lot more direct, and I am one who, and this is kind of the balance of understanding how we are and how we project that on and what we want for other people. I want to help people grow in any way that they need help with, but I'm one who is, I believe, is I need people to tell me what they want, right? And so I'm not going to just shove or push ideas on people, because I also am just one who I feel like people need to take ownership over kind of their growth and their process there. So I believe that I'm somebody who's there to be able to help people grow, but I work really, really well with people who are saying, hey, these are some weaknesses. This is areas that I'd love help. And I thrive. I always say my purpose statement is to help awaken the potential in others so they can grow wings and soar. I want to be there to help spark that in people. But I also, I am totally comfortable being direct and having candid conversations if we need to. I think sometimes it's things that nobody really ever wants to do, but it's just, I feel like, again, that communication, putting it out there. But again, kind of the same thing in the way I think our culture is at the company is really a team of people who, when you're as small as we are, you kind of need people. You can't just be the idea person. You're going to have to figure out how to make it happen as well. And there's the pluses and minuses of big and small companies, but I think that I'm there to be able to help support people, but really needing people to say raise their hand. And I always say raise your hand, and that I don't want people at the bottom of the swimming pool. I want everybody at the top of the swimming pool on a floaty mat with an umbrella drink in their hand, that we can all be there working together. But we all have to be able to say and be honest of saying, hey, I'm drowning and I need some help. And then as soon as somebody says that, I'm going to fix and find a solution to be able to help that person.
So you're twin sisters. You obviously know each other very well. You have a lot of experiences built up over time outside of the office. Yeah. Hearing each other explain how they view themselves as a leader, and then looking at life in general and knowing each other as sisters, would you agree with those self-assessments? And what's it like to have a relationship outside of the business, inside of the business, and then trying to balance a similarity or making sure that you allow that to strengthen your bond and partnership, but also separate enough to have a differentiation between the work and business life?
Yes, I agree with what Kate said. I think that she's our detail person. I'm the one, and I always say, I don't know how someone runs a business without their twin sister and without their exact opposite. I don't know. Going in, I'm not sure if we thought that this was going to work, because I thought that, we definitely have our differences and we are very, very different. But this business would never work if it was just me, because I have these big ideas. I'm once I kind of get it out of my head, then I move on to the next idea and I'm on to the next thing and how are we going to get things done. I bring in Kate when things need to get done and we actually can implement and figure things out. I will say she also, and God bless her, is the one that can have the difficult conversations and can sit down and say, okay, we need to move from here to here, and this is how we're going to get there. Because I'm kind of I think it'll happen. We'll get there. If we just talk about it, if we just talk about the big idea, everyone will get inspired and they'll just come along with the ride. But I realize that sometimes I leave a bit of a mess behind me, and I wouldn't say a mess, but a wake back there, where there's some people back behind us on our team or in the community that says, so what exactly was she talking about? How are we going to get from big idea to where we're standing out now? And Kate's the one that can map those things out. So I think it's fun that things actually get done when Kate comes in the room. That's kind of how I think about things. That's what we need. Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, and I appreciate that. And I do agree. I think that Jen's the same way, but what I love right now, especially, and I think it's just by nature of what's happening in our world and the way that our business is, and any business is having to, but I feel like we're both learning so much from each other and appreciating different strengths. And even like Jen talking about the clearest kind of just, I'd like get off my training programs and I'd call it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like one nugget that we both need to start using, and different kinds of things. And we're learning and respecting what each other is bringing. She's inspired me to really start thinking differently. And I think I was chatting with somebody and I said, I don't know if my brain would have functioned this way pre-COVID and pre all of this, because I do things in very ordered and detailed structure. And this is like, it's just blown up the box. It's just, nothing's the way that we thought it was going to be. And now actually I'm kind of, instead of feeling like the anxiety of that, I'm actually kind of think it's cool. And so now really signing up for a strategic foresight certificate program, which Jenny's had gone through before, being able to think about the world differently. And again, I don't think that she was chatting about it pre-COVID and it just wasn't clicking, but now this time. So I think this time we're actually like, how are we interconnecting and have our space and respect each other? I think we're actually also learning from each other, like these really cool nuggets that then is going to help round each of us out to be able to help us kind of in a way be more powerful going forward.
Gracefully embracing the chaos.
Gracefully embracing chaos. So to close things out, looking forward into 2021, what are some of your leadership goals, either for yourself or the groups that you're leading? I know it's a really big question, but if there's anything that jumps out top of mind, looking forward into the future, well, what would some of those top of mind things be?
I don't know. Leadership specifically? I think Kate, you go first.
An area that we've been chatting a lot about in terms of one about impacts of some of the different words that we've talked about, and is how can we be able to share more about the kind of the journey that we've been on, and being able to talk about like family business, women leadership, different types of things. And so a big goal for us that we have is actually being able to get out and speak more, and be able to connect with people, to be able to really just inspire people to know that there's an exciting journey out there if you want to get on it, and not let fear of what's outside of your comfort zone take you or hold you back. So I think a big goal, at least for me, and something that Jen and I have been talking about, is how do we get out and actually speak more about some things, and or connect with, as being a mentor, and being able to really be able to give kind of more of our time to be able to help people outside of just our team itself, and being able to kind of expand the impact that we're having on the community at large.
Yeah, I think sharing our story and being comfortable with that, I think it's definitely, I think sometimes we just put our head down, we're doing our job, we're doing, work, and it's like now looking up to say, man, we do have a bit of experience of going through this, of being working moms and transitioning in a family business, and running this business has been around for 35 years. And we do have a story to share, and more so for the fact of, I think we can help people through it. I mean, the reason why we, I believe, have been successful through this is because of the partners and the people that we are connected with. I mean, at the Center for Family Business, and with Joanne Norton, and with, countless people in this community. I was doing on a podcast the other day, and someone said, for the OC for Ventures, and Carrie had said, how do you think of Orange County as a community to grow your business? I said, it's incredible. I mean, if we open our eyes and we look around, there's an incredible business community around here, and people here that want to be able to help and want to help us thrive and grow. And so we are excited to be a part of that as well. And if we can help in any way to continue growing this community and our business and what's going on here, I think that's our biggest thing, is getting out more in a safe way in this COVID time, of how to get out more, be more impactful. Yeah.
Well, I'd say as a team member and observer over the past few years, I think it's like 7 years, going on 7 years now.
Crazy, Brent.
You guys are fantastic leaders. I appreciate your hard work and everything that you do, both in and out of the office. One of the things that I tell my friends and family is how much I've learned, not only as a professional, but as a person. And you inspire me watching you juggle all of these different roles, and how much time, energy, and effort you put in to improving yourself so that you can improve us and improve the business. is amazing. So I thank you both so much, and thank you for your insights and time here. We're definitely going to be coming back and talking about some more topics. If anybody out there has ideas for topics that they'd like to hear us discuss, please reach out at MacKenzieCorp.com. That's MacKenzie Corp.com. We are Gracefully Embracing Chaos, and we'll be back with more. Thanks so much for joining us.